Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk this week. My name is Elyse. I am a medium channeler with Avalon Spirit, joined with the lovely Ginette. And it's just the two of us today, sending Lisa lots of love. I think she's soaking in some sunshine. So that's wonderful. I feel like that's what we all need right now. I'm just like every day I walk outside and it's sunny. I'm like, yes. Soak it in. Soak it in. So this week, there's a lot whirling around in the world. And one thing we were thinking about talking about was just the idea of seeking information outside of ourselves, right? Oftentimes we'll want to connect with other mediums, other intuitive people, energy workers, light workers, however you want to define it or whatever resonates for you. And this idea of sometimes we can get into this kind of false guru energy, or we can find people that are putting themselves in this energy or experience this energy for themselves. And to be honest, I don't know which one it is. If it's like they're bringing it up themselves, it's part of their experience. Like I think we'll probably chat about that. But this idea of someone coming into our space, into our energy, whether that's social media or out in the world, and claiming to know all, claiming to have all the answers, know all the things, figure out exactly what is going on in the world and having all the answers. And I think as the world changes, as there's a lot happening these days, there's a desire to understand more. There's a desire for us to have all the answers. I know sometimes I'm like, I wish I could have all the answers right now because it feels overwhelming sometimes. But that can be a tricky place to navigate because I feel like it can take away our own resonance and what feels right, true, and in alignment for us. So lobbing that up into the air. Have you been noticing much of that? Have you been noticing much of that?
I really have actually. And it's not to put any one person down either. And I know that's not what you're saying either. I just want to be really clear with everyone watching. What we're talking about today is not to say one person is better than another, because then again, that would be falling into the same sort of thing, saying I know or you know better than another. What we want to really specify here is what you were saying at the end is resonance. Like one thing that Spirit has been saying over and over and over right now is know yourself. Know what resonates for you. That was the whole purpose of, as we understand it, 2020. When 2020 came in, COVID came in, that was our avenue into major self-discovery. The whole world slowed down and gave us an opportunity to get to know who we are and what we're about and our why. And now we're starting to step back out of that. And some people did do a lot of deep digging and found deeper consciousness and all of that. And sometimes when you first open up to that journey, it feels like you have access to all, knowing all, or the answers to all, or your perceptions. But when you go a little bit deeper than that, you realize that you can have that sense of intuition, which makes you feel you know all, but really that's in alignment with your journey. That's where you are, in a sense, all-knowing or have access to that, is in relation to what is in alignment with you. And that's where, we've talked about this before, where two things can be right at the same time. Two perspectives can be right based on those perspectives. So there's something to be said right now for the amount of people that are awakening, which is a beautiful thing, a fantastic thing, but also never losing sight of your resonance, what feels right for you and true for you, and being okay if that is different from someone else. I think that is just such an important key piece to keep at the forefront of our journeys right now, because it's so easy to be swayed by somebody else's truth. If they feel really passionate about it, we tend to think, oh, okay, well then I must be doing this wrong. If they're feeling all of this and I'm not, then I should be feeling that. But you have to know what feels in alignment for you.
Yeah, and I think that can be it can be challenging, especially if you're kind of first finding yourself in the journey of opening up, of listening to your intuition, of connecting with your own guides, your own spirit self. And I know for me early on, and even still sometimes, there's this question of like, is my brain coming into it? Am I off base on this? This doesn't make sense. Maybe this is different than what I've seen or heard other people talk about. And that can be kind of confusing because it's like, well, but we're both living on the same planet. We're both, living in the same world. And in a 3D sense, yes, but in a, energetic sense, no, because we're all living our experience through our own experience, through our own perception, our own um, you know, brains, bodies, spirits. We've all come down with different karmas and trajectories and lessons that we're meant to learn. We're all like, it's so infinite what our individual experience can look like and what our collective experience can look like. And so I just don't think there is one answer, right? Sure, you can find in a lot of the great teachers a lot of common threads and a lot of common truths or like universal laws. And I love when I hear similar threads of information from different teachers because I can kind of test that. And oftentimes it does feel like it really resonates with me. But what I've also noticed is that those universal truths tend to be really big and broad to leave so much room underneath them for how you experience it and how you like take the law of attraction or manifestation, for example, right? Oftentimes, it's spoken about as you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and you feel this, and you experience this, and then you manifest the thing in your life. And the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, has so many different threads between quantum physics and our own energies and our journeys and our own life karmas and free will. And it's so intricate in how something can manifest, and it's so intricate and different in how we each can individually do that. Oftentimes you'll see videos out there of like, this is how you manifest. And it's like, yeah, if sitting and meditating and writing and visualizing is a process that works for you, amazing. If you want to like go sing a song about it and like sing it into your
Mhm.
experience, do that. Like it's so individual. But I think in times of challenge and also times where maybe we're learning new things about our own experience, or there's a lot going on in the world, it can feel a little disorienting. Like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right piece of information? Did my guides tell me the right thing? And it can maybe knock us off our own truth a little bit. And so always circling back to that, because anything that doesn't resonate with you doesn't resonate with you. And I think that if anything, with this, the conscious awakening that is happening on the planet, like you said, the for me, one of the like primary pieces in that is what is within your resonance, what is aligned for you, what feels good in your body, in your mind, in your spirit when you make a decision, when you decide to move forward with something, when you want to understand something, when you want to gain clarity. If we're not filtering it through ourselves, it just leaves so much wiggle room for perception and interpretation and different belief systems to kind of filter in, and they might not align with you. And then you're kind of using that information to make decisions and how you want to live your life. And that can then lead to a little bit of distrust because it's like, well, these things don't feel right. It's not working. Is this how it's supposed to be? And it can, I know for me, it led to some confusion because I'm like, I don't know if that feels right for me. Does that mean that the spirit world doesn't feel right for me? Does that mean, and it's like, no, it's meant to align with you and your given experience because they're so infinite and different, and the possibilities are endless and what that could look like.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And so one way I think people can start to weed through what feels true or not to them with different people that they may be following, different insights, information, books, you name it, is notice if the information when you receive it helps you feel grounded and calm, regardless of what it is. Because when we resonate with something, when something is a truth, not a fear, it has a grounding effect, even if it's not something you would want. right? Say you're hoping that you're going to have sunny weather on your wedding day. Your intuition's telling you it's probably not. And then when you hear the weather and it says it's probably not, you get that knowing. Even
Mhm.
though that's not what you want, you're like, yep, that's what I felt, right? That's
Mhm.
kind of resonance,
Mhm.
like an example of it. So even sometimes if it's something we don't want, there's still a grounding, solid energy to it. And that's what we need to look out for because, or we want to look for essentially, because those that are pulling information from, say, fourth dimensional consciousness, and although it is higher consciousness information, it may not be right for you. Oftentimes it can come through in a frantic nature. So if you find you're watching someone who's bringing through spiritual content, but they seem very frantic about it,
Mhm.
it's not grounded information.
Mhm.
And so I noticed one of the things that really sticks out when I'm watching other people's information is even if they're bringing something that's really challenging, their energy is really grounded when they're bringing it from a solid source and they are solid in themselves and how they're bringing it through.
Mhm.
And often as well, they're not saying you need to do this, but
Mhm.
here is what I got.
Mhm.
Here is what I received. Do with it as you will.
Mhm.
I think those that understand consciousness understand the individualization of everyone's journey. And so
Mhm.
then present what it is they present. I think
Mhm.
we really need to watch for information that is bringing a strong fear narrative with it because
Mhm.
it's not going to help us move forward. Fear energy is something that just seems to hold us back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And, we can, I think it's, hmm, what is the word I'm trying to say? There's, like you were saying, it's not about any one person um, being wrong or trying to share fear narratives or doing it with any sort of malicious intent or any sort of um, even like intentional kind of ego mind, right? I really don't think a lot of the time it's that, but we're all humans and we all have brains and we all have life stress and we all have, times in which information doesn't come as clearly to us or we're feeling panicked about something. So, our brain has all sorts of things to say, or our filters create a fear narrative around a message that's maybe really neutral. Maybe the message itself isn't um leaning one way or another, but it's like you were saying, it's the delivery of it through our own fear filters or our own stress
Mm-hmm.
or even our own, if we're not feeling well, right? Like you got a really bad cold or a headache or something. That's why I know for a lot of, intuitive workers, being cautious about when you're doing readings and when you're sharing information. If you're not in a good headspace or you're really sick or, something, it's hard to tap into that place from that grounded energy. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, certainly there are situations where ick things happen in the spiritual and wellness world. And, I think we can think of a handful of situations in which that is the case. But I think too, a lot of it, especially in this day where we're just all really quickly sharing information and it's like, oh, I have this download coming in, and then I hop on TikTok and I share it. It's easy to just not have our own discernment of like, ooh, did that was that a message that felt really grounded in me? Was that a message that I shared accurately? I know sometimes with you, even when things come through a Spirit Coffee Talk, I'll say to you like, did I articulate that in a helpful way? Because I am cautious of my words and my language. And so I want to always make sure that I'm sharing information that feels grounded and feels in alignment with who I am and how I try
Mm-hmm.
to show up in the world. And so, but I think sometimes it's easy to it can be a quick thing of like, oh, I shared something and that maybe wasn't the message that I was trying to bring through, but now it's
Mm-hmm.
out there. So,
I love that you brought that up because that was something similar was what I was going to say next is practicing the pause, like
mhm,
how valuable
mhm,
the pause is when you get information, allowing yourself that time to, like you're saying, interpret it, discern it, see where it resonates with you
mhm,
before you act on it or speak about it or something.
mhm,
Because I know for myself, I've learned that in the past, the hard way.
mhm,
Right? I know when I first started opening up to spirit and gaining insights, I would share more than I needed to share with family or friends. I would,
Mm-hmm.
speak about something that hadn't taken the time to feel into the fullness of it. So maybe I was only sharing the first impression, but if I had given it time, I would understand the whole thing. And therefore, it wouldn't come through as either a frantic message or a, oh my gosh, I don't know what this means. If I would have given it time to allow the whole thing to filter through, I could have then discerned, do I even need to bring this up?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Maybe that was just for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or number two, what is the best way that I could bring up that piece of information? Like
Mm-hmm.
having the time to pause, not get caught up in the whirl energy to bring something through, I think is really valuable. And so
Mm-hmm.
again, that's something that I look for when I'm listening to other channelers, other mediums, other spiritual people talking about things, is where they're willing to pause. Are they in a frantic energy? Are they bringing through something that feels grounded to me or
Mm-hmm.
not?
Mm-hmm.
And something could resonate deeply for you, but it doesn't resonate for me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
completely okay too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that you said that, because the pause is, there's so much information that can be found in the pause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that theory applies to probably almost everything, because I know, I don't know if we talked about it on Spirit Coffee Talk before, or just on your podcast, or, whatever, but this idea of like, we need time to integrate things. We need time to let things settle and have a perspective, and kind of sit in our bodies and our minds and our spirits and be like, what does that actually mean for me? Because our brain is really good at telling all sorts of stories about all sorts of different things that aren't necessarily accurate or true for us, and that are coming from our own place of, fear or hurt or whatever, trying to keep us safe. And so that pause is where you get to the pause when you're taking in information, but also the pause when you're getting information or wanting to share information of, how does this feel for me? How does this, how does this resonate for me? And, even I was, as we started, we were talking, we're feeling a little like, and a little out of body and brain today. And as we were talking, I was like, I don't even want to use the word guru in this, because that's actually a very sacred term.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain was like searching for another term. So I'm going to just put on the record, like, I don't think it's about that. I think it's how do we discern what feels good for us? Because that is a very sacred and divine term for a lot of cultures and religions out there. And I know it's something that gets tossed around a lot. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that can
That's
take
a good
from
point.
the idea of the divine gurus and beings and entities that a lot of religions and cultures believe in. So just to kind of
Yeah,
caveat
it's a
side note
beautiful point.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it whatever we're talking about, it's like coming back to the discernment of your own filter. What feels true for me? What feels in alignment for me? Um, what feels like it's empowering me? Because I think at the end of the day, whether we're talking about all the happenings in the world or our own journeys, our own challenges, we always have free will. And I think that's the other thing too, to come into the conversation of when information is shared out there from people, mediums, intuitives, that might be the message. And maybe that is a really true in alignment message for you, but you also always have free will to
Mm-hmm.
do with it what you wish and to choose the life that you want for yourself and make choices that feel good for you. Even if sometimes I'll be like, I can think of many times in my life where I've gotten a message and I'm like, not ready for that yet. I'm going to just maybe
Yeah, me
go over
too.
this direction
Yeah.
instead. Come back to me in a couple months and we'll talk. And then
Yeah.
we'll circle back around. And so even in your own messages, you always have the right to be like, not for me right now. And it's my belief that spirit always is working in the background to realign things for our highest good. So it's not to say that if you choose something different of what's being given to you in a reading or that's coming through in your own intuitive connection, you get to choose. And then spirit's like, Kate, not ready for it yet. Let's see what we can do behind the scenes to,
Mm-hmm.
realign reroute, recalculate which direction you're going, like Google Maps does, and get you to the destinations that you chose for when you came here, but in a different path. And there's never a missed boat, I don't believe.
I agree. Boats can keep coming. They might look different, a little bit different, but they can keep coming. And I think for us to really embrace that energy now that we're fully into 2023, with Pluto moving into Aquarius in March, and the energies of the equinox really allowed us to let go of 2022, step into 2023. Like you're saying, discernment is really the high road. And when I say the high road, I mean the highest alignment of self comes with self-discernment. So I think it's a beautiful thing for us to talk about. And when I say us, I mean all of us, like those of you that are listening, and how it resonates for you. It's a great thing to have on your mind now as we're really in the energies of 2023, because this is really how you create your own reality, is by what you believe, what resonates, what doesn't. Your discernment, what you choose every step of the way moving forward, dictates your reality. So I think that's beautiful as we step into the energy this weekend off the heels of the moon that we're still kind of in, this Libra moon of balance and relationship, and move forward. It's really so much is of our creation, and we are gifted with that now.
And just to throw in, April 10th and 11th are big energy manifesting days. And I'll be honest, I don't remember what the astrology of it is, but the dates are just bringing in my brain of in that discernment, getting to choose, what do you want? And I know, you've mentioned, and we've talked about many times, like, we need to be a little redundant and repetitive right now, of like asking and asking and asking and asking. And aside, just kind of caveat of that's coming into my brain right now, is that a lot of times in manifestation talk, there's ask for what you want and then release and let it go. And so that's been a little counterintuitive for me when Spirit's like, ask for what you want 7 trillion times over, because it brings up something in me of, oh, am I controlling? Am I holding on to it too much? But that's a prime example of how there is a law of, you throw out your manifestations, your intentions, the things that you desire, you ask for them, you call them in, and you let them go. And right now, there's kind of a sub caveat of, the energies are asking for us to return to those things maybe more frequently than we're used to. And so how does that feel for you? Do you ask every day? Do you let it come up as it comes up? Do you, whatever that is for you, there's no right or wrong, but yeah. So anyways, a big energy day on April 10th and 11th.
Love it. They are luckiest days.
Choose.
Lucky days this year. Yeah.
Choose and call in what you want.
Definitely. All right. Well, happy Friday, everyone. Happy weekend. Happy long weekend. Happy Easter weekend, regardless of how you celebrate. And yeah, we look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Yeah. Have a beautiful week.